Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Now, one of the reasons I created the second channel was to do like fun top 5 videos that I wouldn't really post on my main channel. Today's top 5 video is going to be the top 5 best cards that will never be reprinted again. Now, I will say this list is Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver cards and onward. I know there are a ton of old cards that we could have put on this list. A big example of this is Broken Time Space, which is one of the best stadium cards that we will most likely never see ever come back in the TCG. But due to me not playing that much pre-Diamond and Pearl, I've actually decided just kind of keep it simple and just say these are all cards that are Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver, and onwards instead of counting cards from pre-Diamond and Pearl. Because, yeah, Broken Time Space is a very easy pick for this list, but I've included basically more or less like modern cards, anything that came out after like 2010. So yeah, Heart, Gold, Silver on is basically what I'm using for this list. But yeah, these are all cards that I think are very strong and will probably never be reprinted again. We've seen nerf version of cards before, like we've seen Air Balloon be a nerfed Floatstone. We've seen Trekking Shoes as a nerfed Acrobike. But these are all cards that I'm pretty sure they might make a nerf version for, but will most likely never come back in their full glory. And I'm excited. Let me know what you think of the list down below as we get into it. Let me know if I missed out any cards on the list too. And if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and leave a like on the video if you're new to the channel. We're actually closing in on 5,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subbed to the second channel, click that sub button down below. And without further ado, let's get into the list. And coming in at the number 5 spot is actually Hypnotic Laser. This card is easily one of the strongest cards in the entire black and white block, and this card is super strong and was very dominant way back in the day when this card was legal from the set Plasma Storm. Its effect is extremely strong. You automatically poison your opponent's active Pokemon on an item card. Yes, you can play this card from your hand and instantly poison your opponent's active, and you also get the effect you flip a coin of heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is also asleep. So not only do you basically get a plus free 10 damage on an item card, but you also have the possibility of putting your opponent to sleep, meaning that there is a possibility that your opponent does not wake up going back into their turn, which is so good. This card was extremely powerful when combined with the stadium card Verbank City Gym, which was basically allowing you to do 20 more poison damage. So it turned Hypnotic Laser with Verbank City into a plus 3 plus power, basically. Being able to do plus 30 damage every turn with Laser Verbank was ridiculously strong. This card, when combined with annoying cards like Seismitoad EX, created some pretty toxic formats, and a lot of people agree that Laser is a very bad card for the game, because not only do you get to have instant 10 damage that can turn into instant 30 damage with Verbank City Gym, but you also get to put your opponent to sleep on a coin flip, which is extremely ridiculous. Sometimes you lose games because your opponent got the lucky laser flip and you ended up flipping tails on waking up going into your turn. This card was very powerful, and I don't ever think we will ever see this card ever come back. I think this card is too good to ever reprint. Even if you were to nerf it and just make it where you only poison the opponent, I still think that's just a super strong effect. I mean, if this card came out nowadays, this would be really good with Hisuian Sneasler, which is basically Verbank City Gym on a Pokemon with an ability as opposed to a stadium, so you can't just like bump it. So this card is pretty powerful, and I don't think we will ever see Hypnotic Laser ever come back. This card is basically just an insanely buffed up plus power, which plus power lets your Pokemon do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon during that turn, where Laser gets to poison them, and then you have a way to do even more damage with Verbank. So I don't think we'll ever see Laser ever come back. This card is just too good, and I don't think that it would be healthy if this card ever got reprinted, especially if there is some kind of item lock attack in the game, because this card was ridiculously strong with the power of Seismitoad EX and Quaking Punch. And coming in at the number 4 spot, I've actually gone with Skyfield. I think that Skyfield is such a strong stadium that I don't think they'll ever reprint a stadium this good ever again. Basically, it allows each player to have 8 Pokemon on their bench, meaning that you can bench 3 extra Pokemon. This stadium is extremely powerful. It is one of the best stadium cards we've ever seen in the TCG. It might not be as good as something like Broken Time Space or Forest of Giant Plants in its prime, but I do think that this stadium is one of, if not the top 5 best stadiums we've ever had in the game. And being able to fill up your bench to 8 Pokemon is so good. And I think the stadium is just so strong that we're never going to see Skyfield ever come back to the trading card game, mainly because it's just too good of a stadium. It's abused pretty heavily right now in the expanded format. I think if they were to ever reprint a Skyfield-like effect, if they were to nerf it, they would probably just make it so each player can bench up to 6 Pokemon instead of benching up to 8. Benching up to 8 Pokemon is ridiculous. It is a very strong card. It creates some pretty insane combos. Obviously, this card was really good when it came out, when combined with Mega Rayquaza EX, and then it ended up being good with cards like Raichu from X and Y. But overall, this card might have good synergy with attacking Pokemon. I just can't see them ever reprinting this card ever again. I just think that the stadium, this is just too good of a stadium for them to ever bring back. And if they were to nerf it, it would probably just be making it so each player can bench up to 6 Pokemon as opposed to 8 Pokemon. Yeah, this stadium is extremely strong, and I don't see them ever reprinting Skyfield ever again. And I think for that reason alone, it definitely deserves a spot in the top 5. Because, yeah, just imagine if it got reprinted today. I mean, imagine how good something like Palkia V-Star would be. Or imagine how good something like Regis would be, where Regis can bench all the Regis and then have extra Pokemon to power up per turn. It's just a really strong effect that I can't really see them ever bringing back. If, again, they were to bring it back and nerf it, it would have to be 6 Pokemon as opposed to 8. I don't think they would ever bring back the ability for you to bench up to 8 Pokemon on a stadium card, because it's just a very strong effect that, again, I don't see them ever bringing back Skyfield. But at the number 3 spot, I've actually chosen Double Dragon Energy. I really don't think this card is ever going to get reprinted. If anything, it's probably going to end up getting banned one day. Double Dragon Energy is easily one of the strongest special energy cards ever printed. It is so good with Dragon Pokemon. It provides 2 Rainbow Energy, basically, on a Dragon Pokemon. It provides 2 energy of every type when it's attached to a Dragon Pokemon with really no drawback. You can just attach it to Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, Tag Team GX, and you get 2 dual Altered Creation for a single energy. It's just a ridiculously strong card. And again, I don't see this card ever getting reprinted again, mainly because of just how good it is. Being able to provide 2 Rainbow Energy of 2 any type on a Dragon Pokemon is honestly just too good, and I don't see this card ever getting reprinted. If anything, I think it actually could be potentially banned and expanded one day because of how good it is. And we have a lot of strong Dragon Pokemon in the game right now. I mean, there's Regidrago V-Star, Giratina V-Star, Goodra V-Star, Duraludon VMAX, and the new Noivern EX coming out in Paldea Evolved. All these cards would just be really good with Double Dragon Energy. And again, it's just too strong. There's no drawback to it, and I think that's the main thing. Now, maybe if they were to reprint it and bring it back, they would have to nerf it. And if they were to nerf it, maybe they would make it something like Double Turbo Energy, where you do 20 less damage, or maybe the card gets discarded at the end of your turn. Even then, I still don't know if that would be healthy for the game. I just think that Double Dragon is just too strong of a card to ever reprint. And I do truly think this card will never be reprinted in its full glory ever again, because Dragon Pokemon are really good. But the thing with Dragon Pokemon that makes them unique is how difficult they are to power up. And obviously, we've seen ways to cheat that through Arceus V-Star or Mirage Gate. But with Double Dragon Energy, again, I just think that being able to just cheat the attack cost that easily is just too dang good. And again, Double Dragon Energy will most likely never, ever get reprinted ever again. And if anything, they would have to nerf it if they were to bring some kind of similar card effect back to the format. But let's see what we got for the number 2 and number 1 spot. And at the number 2 spot, I've actually chosen Junk Arm. Now, this is one of the reasons why I've chosen the Heart Coastal Silver on block. Because, again, I don't know a lot of the older cards, like pre-Diamond and Pearl, so it'd be harder to kind of rank that on that. But I do know a lot about Junk Arm. Junk Arm is one of the strongest trainer item cards we've ever seen. And this is such a strong card, I don't think it'll ever get reprinted. Now, this card was nerfed, actually, with Dowsing Machine, which, I mean, you could call it a nerf. I mean, it was an A-Spec. Dowsing Machine did the exact same thing as Junk Arm, except it was an A-Spec, meaning that you can only play 1 in your deck as opposed to 4. Junk Arm is legal in the Legacy format for however long that's going to last when it leaves TCGO, and Junk Arm is one of the strongest cards, one of the strongest trainers we've ever seen. This card is extremely influential in the trading card game. You discard 2 cards from your hand, and then you can search your discard pile for a trainer card and put it into your hand. You cannot use Junk Arm to search out Junk Arms. Again, being able to just get trainers back from your discard pile is broken. This card would allow you to get supporters back nowadays in our standard format, but they would probably nerf it. If theoretically this ever got reprinted, they would maybe nerf it, and then it would only get back item cards, which means you can't get back tools or supporters. It would just get back items, but there are a lot of items you can get back with this card, and I just truly don't see Junk Arm ever coming back ever again. It's just too good of a card that they would have to nerf it. I don't even know how they would nerf it. I mean, they tried with Dow's Machine, but Dow's Machine is kind of problematic because it's a A-Spec, so it's rare to find, and you kind of have to play an A-Spec in your deck, so like it kind of already created a problem on its own. So I don't think they'd ever reprint Junk Arm again. If they were to reprint it, it would have to be some like ridiculous effect, like discard your whole hand to get an item back. Like even then, I don't even know. I just don't see this card ever coming back ever again. It's too good, and there's a lot of item cards that are really good in the game that you can get back with Junk Arm. And even if they reprinted it, it obviously would be super good in our standard format, and then it would be extremely good in the expanded format. But yeah, I don't see Junk Arm ever coming back ever again, because again, it's too good, and it's really hard to nerf this card, because the one time they attempted to nerf it with Dowsing Machine, they just kind of created another problematic situation with A-Spec cards becoming very hard to find and hard to get, and being mandatory for any deck in expanded. So yeah, Junk Arm as a number 2. Before we do get to number 1, I do have a few honorable mentions I did want to note. And I do have some honorable mentions I wanted to note before we get to the number 1 spot. Now, I wanted to mention, there's a lot of supporters here, but we'll talk about the first one, Colress. Now, Colress is a very strong draw supporter, one of the strongest draw supporters ever printed, where you shuffle your hand into your deck, and then you draw a number of cards for each bench Pokemon you and your opponent both have, meaning that Colress can draw you up to 10 cards. This card is legal with Skyfield in the format. You can draw a bazillion cards. This card is almost too good to probably ever reprint. Being able to draw like 16 cards is ridiculous. This card I don't think will ever get reprinted ever again. They've tried to like make nerfed Colress cards before with Erica's Hospitality and the new Brandon supporter card that came out in Silver Tempest, which Brandon sucks. Erica was decent enough, but yeah, I don't see them ever reprinting Colress's effect ever again on a supporter card. And then I wanted to mention Scuba Net. This card could get eroded, but even then, I don't know if that'll ever happen. Being able to pick up a Pokemon V being able, to pick up any Pokemon that isn't a V or GX is really strong. Of course, Scuba Net does work pretty well with Comfies, and, you know, it worked really well with Jirachi, really good with Radiant Pokemon, but right now, Net would work with EX Pokemon. If they were to bring it back, they could errata the effect where it doesn't work on rule boxes, which is what they would have to do, because this card would be really good with EX Pokemon, like Gardevoir EX, and it would work on Radiant still. So I definitely think they would have to errata it where it didn't work on rule boxes, but even then, I think the effect is just so strong that I don't know if they will truly ever bring Scuba Net back ever again. I think this card was a one-and-done type thing. I don't see this card ever getting reprinted, even if they were to errata it. And then I want to talk about Dede Change's effect. Now, Dede Change is something I did want to mention here real quick. There is a new Squawkabilly coming out in our next set that is Dedenne GX's ability, but on a one-time turn thing. You can only use Squawkabilly on the first turn of the game, I think. And it does the exact same thing where you can discard your hand when you play Dedenne on your bench, and then you can draw 6 cards. This card was very good back in the day. Dedenne is one of the strongest GXs ever made, and I don't see them ever reprinting Dede Change's effect ever again. They basically printed a nerfed version of it with Squawkabilly, and I don't see this ever getting printed ever again, because Dede Change is just too strong of an ability. Being able to do that without ending your turn is too good, and that effect will never be reprinted again. And then I wanted to mention Chaotic Swell, another card that I'm fairly certain we won't ever see get reprinted. This card was, in my opinion, bad for the game. It basically, whenever a player plays a stadium, from their hand, you discard that stadium after discarding this one. So Swell basically made it so that if your opponent were to play a stadium down, then they wouldn't be able to. They would get rid of the Swell, but that stadium that they played would not be played. And you can't play 2 stadiums in a turn, meaning that you would have to wait another turn to play a stadium. This was a very strong card. Yeah, there were stadium removal cards like Field Blower. There was the Marshadow that allowed you to discard the stadium, with it then being able to play the stadium from your hand that turn. I just don't see them ever printing Swell again. Yeah, even though like Lost Vacuum exists, the stadium is just really toxic, and in my opinion, I don't think should ever be printed ever again. And then I want to mention Guzma, another really strong supporter card that I'm pretty sure we're never going to see come back ever again. You get to switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon, and if you do, you get to switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Guzma was a very, very strong card, one of the best supporter cards from the Sun and Moon block, and even though they are printing Gust every set with Boss's Order, and we got this new Erica coming out in the original 151 set, I'm pretty sure that we'll never see Guzma come back ever again. The effect is really good. Imagine Guzma with like Miraidon, because this card was really good with cards like Zacian V. Being able to switch yourself out of the active is also really, really powerful. Boss basically is just like you play it and you gust something. Guzma lets you switch, and being able to switch for free like that is super good, and it's a really strong effect. And again, maybe it's too strong of an effect for them to ever reprint it. That's probably why we just keep seeing Boss's Order come back in the format instead of them ever printing Guzma. And then finally, I wanted to mention Welder, another card I'm pretty sure we'll never see reprinted again. Welder, again, is a super strong card that I'm pretty certain is never going to come back. You get to attach up to 2 Fire Energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and then you get to draw 3 cards. Gardenia's Vigor. I almost said Erica. Gardenia's Vigor is a nerfed Welder, where it only works on grass Pokemon, and it only works on the bench, and you only get to draw 2 before you attach the energy. And Welder was just a very good card. Yes, there was a lot of good Pokemon and support around it. I mean, you had Reshizard, Blacephalon GX, you had Giant Hearth, Fiery Flint, Fire Crystal, but I just don't think this effect will ever come back on any type for that matter. Like, this probably won't ever come back on any type, and the effect of Welder itself, like, I mean, like, Gardenia's Vigor is a nerfed Welder, and that effect might come back, but the effect of Welder will probably never come back. Oh, there's also Melanie. Melanie's like another, like, semi-nerfed Welder, though I think Gardenia is clearly trying to be a nerfed Welder than more or less than Melanie is, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the effect of Welder will never come back for any type for that matter. It doesn't matter if it's come back for fire. I'm pretty sure this will never come back for any type ever again. Now let's get into the number 1 spot, and the biggest card that I don't think we will ever see reprinted ever again. And at the number 1 spot, I've gone with Battle Compressor. This card is one of the strongest cards ever made, and I truly believe it will never be printed ever again. And I don't even know if they can nerf Battle Compressor. So basically, you switch your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. That effect is so good. There's so many ways Battle Compressor is broken. There's a lot of good cards that want to be in the discard pile. I mean, you got Execute, you got Night March, you got like Mad Party, you have V-Union pieces. Even getting rid of energy and supporters to synergize with other powerful cards is also really good. I really think that Battle Compressor will never get reprinted. Now, there is an argument to be made that Battle Compressor should be banned from Expanded. I've seen a lot of people say that they should just ban this card. I don't think Compressor should ever get banned unless like they print something super duper broken that makes this card way too good. But for now, I don't think there's anything in the game that makes Battle Compressor that bannable. But this card is just so strong and there's so much synergy with it that I just don't ever see this card ever getting printed again. And if they were to like print Battle Compressor, it would probably just be switch your deck and discard 1 card. Like, imagine if this card came back right now. Imagine how good it would be with all the cards that want to be in the discard pile. And imagine how good it would be with something like Lugia V-Star. But yeah, no, I definitely can never see Battle Compressor coming back. And if they were to print it, they would have to make it so it only discards 1 card. And maybe it only discards a trainer card as opposed to any card for that matter, like Energy or Pokemon. Maybe they make it so that it only discards a trainer card over a Pokemon. It would only discard 1 card as opposed to 3. Because yeah, this effect is just way too strong. And they have printed like nerfed version of it before. Of course, Professor Burnett comes to mind. But yeah, this card, I can't see them ever printing ever again. And I don't even know how they would really make it nerfed. I just think that it's too strong of an effect that not only can they probably never nerf it, but they can probably never reprint Battle Compressor ever again. There you have it. That is my top 5 best cards that will never be reprinted ever again in our game. There were a few other cards I maybe was going to consider for the list. Something like Floatstone came to mind, and also Dimension Valley was another card I was going to list. I also considered Quick Ball. I think Quick Ball is such a strong item card that I don't know if they'd ever print that again, but I can honestly see Quick Ball coming back at some point. Double Colorless Energy was another card I had in my mind, but Double Colorless, Floatstone, and Quick Ball are all cards that maybe can be reprinted one day. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they ever got reprinted again. But all the cards on this list, I'm pretty sure the effect of these cards will never come back ever again. And if they do, it would be very much a nerfed version of the card. But that is it for me. Let me know what you thought of this top 5 down below. If you want to see more cool top 5s like this, let me know in the comments below by leaving a like and all that good stuff. Let me know what you thought of the list. Did I miss any cards? Because again, these were all HCSS on and nothing older than HCSS. Because there are cards that are a lot older that definitely should be on this list, but I don't know every card in the game, so I only considered the Heart Gold Silver on cards. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye-bye.